It is January the 6th, 2020. We're into the new decade. It's been exactly a month since I did my last video. I took a little while off, and in the interim, a lot obviously has occurred. If you remember, we spoke about the incredible, powerful conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, aligned also with Mercury, coming up on the 12th of January, preceded by a lunar eclipse on the 10th. And ostensibly, we could just say that the lunar eclipse is exactly on top of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. It's only 2 degrees off, and it's extraordinarily powerful. Now, we haven't had a Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn for 500 years. So this is massive. And Saturn and Pluto, as we've discussed before, they are not soulmates. Saturn gave birth to its first child in mythology, Pluto, who stayed longest in the womb and was in the darkness for a long time. That's why it's aligned with Scorpio, and Saturn slew the firstborn child. So Saturn is basically, as we've discussed, connected with all the systems, all the corporate structures, the banking structures, the government bureaucracies, the ways that things are put together so that they can function in the physical world. The movement of Capricorn is aligned with the goat, and the goat is the animal that climbs slowly but steadily and carefully every day of its life, and at the end of its life has reached the pinnacle of the mountain. So you'll often see many Capricorns in their youth very shy, kind of pulled back from their ultimate expression and destination. And as life goes by, they become more extroverted, and even in their later years, almost playful. You put Saturn with the Pluto and this lunar eclipse. We had predicted that there would be an event in the within the framework of a few weeks of this that would be quite devastating to our society. And so it wasn't surprising when I saw the planetary alignment of Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn, and Pluto all in Capricorn, squaring the moon in Aries, which is a very fierce, passionate expression of the emotional nature, a warrior soul. And that went into a complete square on the 3rd of January 2020, the day of the strike in Iran. At the same time, we had something that is extremely unusual, and that is Mars 29 degrees Scorpio. Now, whenever a planet is 29 degrees, it's already an intensified last degree of that planet in that sign. In Scorpio, there are the best and the worst aspects of Scorpio. Death can be involved around Scorpio, mystery, secrets, the occult. Scorpio can also be a death that creates a regeneration. In this case, it was an assassination, and so you had the dual Mars effect, because Scorpio being ruled by Pluto, Scorpio is also ruled by Mars. And then you have Mars, the moon in Aries, so the moon being ruled by a Martian sign for a couple of days there. So that's when this disastrous event took place. And some may, I sat for many days with this because I didn't want to come out filled with opinions. I wanted to come out feeling, what was that? Where did it originate? Because often when we see compulsive actions or reactionary actions without much forethought, without the consultation of Congress or the group of 8 being informed, just a unilateral decision by the president, who had been given many options as to what would be his choice in how to deal with Iran, which had been building and building and building over the prior week with different events on both sides. What was the intention behind that? Was it an overt, honest action of violence to create balance? But then when we see that Mars in Scorpio, we know that the intention was not what the words were saying. The intention was behind the scenes, the intention was secretive, the intention had ulterior motives. So it's natural to dissect that and realize that with the Mars in a big trine to Neptune, that there was a lot going on behind the scenes that had to do with the actual presidency itself and creating a monumental distraction. And we'll go into that at another time, but I would just like to say that the escalation that we can expect as we move closer and closer to on the 10th, to the lunar eclipse, where the moon will be in Cancer, opposing all this Sun, Saturn, Pluto, Mercury connection. It's definitely a time of precariousness, and then 2 days later we get the full-on Saturn conjunct Pluto, and that Saturn only conjuncts Pluto in a direct degree, direct minutes, one time. So it's a huge event, and many astrologers have predicted that the first 2 to 3 weeks of January would be probably one of the hardest times in the entire year. And if you look at it, it's bearing out. Astrology being a science, astrology being an observation of the unfoldment under the influence of certain geometric configurations and planetary influences. So astrology is not something you look at it and you predict. It's not. It's more to be used as a factual unfoldment of the dynamic of energies and how they affect us globally, nationally, personally. So, looking at all of this Capricorn, I've never seen Jupiter, Mercury, Sun, Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node all in Capricorn for many, many, many years. This is huge. Now, the other thing is that we have the impeachment process coming up. So there's a structure there that, and a structure of our Constitution there, which is the aspect of writing down how the government should unfold and having checks and balances. That structure, whoops, I don't know what's going on here. Oh, sorry. That structure is being challenged. The basic constitutional rules are being challenged. A, through the way that the so-called war with Iran has been initiated, and B, through the impeachment process and the fact that they're trying to change all the rules in the Senate so that there would be absolutely no witnesses and no personal paperwork brought that has been subpoenaed in the past. So this is a time of testing the boundaries of our country for the Americans. For the world, we see it going on everywhere. We see it going on in Australia with the fires and the way the government is responding to the fires there, the dastardly way they have treated the people and ignored their suffering. We go to England, we see what's going on there with Brexit, and it's like many of the alignments. We go to Iraq, we go to Iran. Now we've got Iraq telling us to get out, and we've got Iran at a boiling point. So many structures, many agreements, such as the Iran nuclear agreement, torn up to shreds and instigated by impulsive actions and authoritarian oligarchical influences. So my assessment, looking at the chart, looking at all this Capricorn being affected by Pluto, is that all that we expected everything to be in a structure is imploding, and we don't really know how it's all going to come down. We know that it's going to be everything is going through massive change. We ourselves are personally going through phenomenal change. Internal structure of our own being is being changed right now. You may have noticed that many people have left their form in the last couple of months passed on. People have lost their homes. More people are homeless. The disparity between the wealthy and the poor. Everything, it's like the Saturn structure with Pluto. It's like losing everything emotionally, financially, mentally, in some form had to occur to create the new directions. And will we make it through this period? Now, the other thing that I wanted to touch on this year, I'm not going through everything, obviously I'm going to do many videos now, is that we have Mars during the last 2 weeks of March coming up to conjunct this Jupiter in Capricorn, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Pluto. And this is going to be another period that's going to be very hot-headed. And you got Mars and Pluto together with Saturn, with Capricorn. There's going to be a lot of internal upheaval, and I would be cautious on that one. And then later in the year, Mars is going to go into Aries on the 26th of June. So that Mars in Aries is going to square Jupiter conjunct Pluto. That's going to happen 3 times. It's going to happen at the end of June. It's going to happen in August. Then it's going to happen in late September. So we have a lot coming up. Excuse me, April, June, and November. Mars in Aries affecting us. So that's going to be a challenge. So really, I can't look at 2020 and say, and be all negative, because I'm here to interpret the soul messengers within the chart. And what they're really saying is just be part of the change. Support Make sure you vote for what you believe in. Make sure you support candidates that understand the need for change. Pluto is wanting to remake the physical structures, be it the medical society, the drug industry, the opioid crisis, the immigration setup, the banking systems, the stock market, the government itself. Is it going to survive this? The voting situations. All of these are ruled by Saturn and being bombarded by Pluto. And in order to rise again, and this is not new. In other words, people are looking at it and going, oh, all of a sudden everything is so terrible. This has been lying dormant in the country, in our world. We've been heading toward a greater and greater sense of admiring the materialistic philosophy of the United States. That has been our dream, our goal, our aspiration all over the world, to have what they have, to live like that. And now, all of a sudden, we're getting the message: simplify, pare down, share with your fellow man, become more merciful. It is the basic reason why I started my site, AngelicMercy44, because I realized that the materialistic aspiration and the feeling of always having to have what you want when you want it in the moment, and this petulant desire to accumulate, this selfishness, this lack of compassion for our fellow man. When I go out the door every day, just down the street, at least 30 people living under tents. This is all the Saturn-Pluto destination of, we're going to have to deal with this. We're going to have to look at our structures and change some things in a major way to create more balance and harmony, to have more mercy for those that are suffering. One thing that I do see us heading toward in the solstice in December of 2020 is a movement away from all this earth, to Saturn moving into Aquarius and Jupiter moving into Aquarius, and a feeling of a lighter sense of being, a more oneness with humanity, because Aquarius is, the Aquarian age is of understanding our interconnectedness, of understanding our divine source from one body of humanity, and feeling that responsibility. Aquarius rules humanitarian activities. It rules all the nonprofits. It rules friendship. It rules group support. It rules leading from behind. It rules putting the ego aside in favor of the many. So we are heading there. Don't lose heart. But in the meantime, we have a lot that we have to account for. Thank you. I'd like to end there. If you'd like a reading, please contact me at AngelicMercy44 at gmail.com. If you'd like to know more about me, please visit my website, www.AngelicMercy.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this video if you like it, and to like it, and to leave your comments. I love reading them.